Boruto episode 124 review. Alright guys, this episode was definitely a very good episode. It was also trending on Twitter earlier when it was releasing. A whole bunch of hype is around this arc, of course, because Urashiki Otsutsuki is back and he's pretty much looking for all the chocolate that he can get. Now, a couple of things that I do want to talk about before I get into the review. I think that this arc, or not necessarily this arc, but specifically this episode, it was pretty much handicapped mental because they're fighting an Otsutsuki member. They're not necessarily going to be able to do anything with the Otsutsuki member. So when we talk about top tier animation, top tier choreography and fight scenes, that's just definitely not going to happen because Urashiki could probably one-shot Boruto and Shinki. So I feel like this episode didn't necessarily have the serious undertone that a great episode needed to have of Boruto. But before I get into my video, I do want to give a huge shout out to my sponsors for today's video, and it's going to be Raid Shadow Legends. Raid Shadow Legends is hands down the most ambitious RPG project of 2019. It's the most immersive experience that you can find on a smartphone, and you can really only compare it to the biggest PC and also console titles. And the best part about it, it's completely free. Now, if you're into mobile gaming, this will definitely be the game for you. Raid has all the features that you would expect, and of course you'd love in an RPG title, like amazing storylines, awesome 3D graphics, a giant boss to fight, PvP battles, and literally hundreds of champions to collect and customize. But it's honestly super surprising, man, because I never really expected to get this level of performance out of a mobile game, something that you could just download whenever you want and also play whenever you want. There'll also be new factions, there'll be a tag team arena, and there'll also be new clan bosses that you can fight alongside your clan mates. You could play for 5 minutes or you could play for 5 hours. And not only that, something else that was super surprising to me, even though it's a mobile game, the graphics are surprisingly amazing. Like, it's still very good. Now, you're not only looking at the amazing graphics, but you're also looking at Gallic, which is one of my favorite champions. He looks amazing, the design is great, and also he has a great personality, which you see once you first download the game. My overall favorite champion has to be Battle Khazar. Definitely a very good design, very spooky, and also arguably the best healer in the game. You can find me in the game. My name is going to be Baara, and also if you're quick enough, you can also join my clan. I think this game is amazing, but honestly, you don't even have to take my word for it. It has an almost perfect score on the Play Store, and also it has over 200,000 reviews. And in just 6 months, there's almost 10 million people playing the game already. If you use the link in my description, you'll get 50,000 silver, and you can also get a free epic champion. But without further ado, let's get into the video. But into how Boruto and Shinki actually got away from Urashiki. Now, this part right here was absolutely amazing to me. They got away from Urashiki because of the sealing jutsu of Shinki's puppets. Now, of course, Shinki's puppets have been a very popular thing ever since we've seen them since the Boruto movie. Now, some of you guys haven't necessarily been around from that long, but about 3 years ago, there was a Boruto movie that was released, and the main thing that Shinki was using was the puppets. Now, come to the anime, Shinki rarely uses the puppets. In fact, this right here is actually the first time that we've seen Shinki use the puppet, and it was absolutely amazing. I loved it. I'm pretty sure a lot of the other fans loved it. I mean, it seems to be a little bit nostalgic, even though it seems like that's probably not a good word to say, man, because we're still in the new generation, but still it's a little bit nostalgic of the movie, man, because this is the first time we're seeing Shinki actually use the puppet. But we didn't see Shinki use the puppet in the same fashion that he used the puppet in the actual movie. Here it was a sealing jutsu. Now, I do want to point out something very odd, and it's the fact that Shinki was actually able to seal Urashiki. Now, I do want to make this very clear. Shinki was only sealed for like a couple of minutes. I honestly don't even think he was sealed for a whole hour. Gato was having trouble sealing regular reanimated humans, and now we get to see Shinki as a kid sealing Otsutsuki members. Now, I'm gonna repeat that again. Gato, the Kaze Kage, could not seal regular humans that were reanimated. Now, a Genin and Shinki, even though, let's be honest, he's not really a Genin, but Genin Shinki is able to seal an Otsutsuki member. Now, even though it was probably for less than an hour, it was still a little bit confusing. But one thing that I can say is the fact that Shinki's sand is definitely a lot stronger than how Gada's sand was back in the day, because Shinki does have iron sand. So I'm guessing that could possibly be a very good way to look at it, seeing how this is actually legit. I mean, Shinki in the future can have an insanely overpowered sealing jutsu. I'm pretty sure, like, in the future he'll probably be able to seal Sasuke and Naruto for good if it actually came to it, and I'm pretty sure he'd probably be able to seal a lot more Otsutsuki members if he actually wanted as well. Now, throughout this whole arc, we're getting a lot of information. It's not only information about Urashiki Otsutsuki himself, but also the Otsutsuki clan in general. Now, before I spoke about how there's a possibility of the Otsutsuki clan having like infinite Byakugans, possibly full power Byakugans, but in this situation, specifically with Urashiki, because I don't necessarily want to generalize it to all the Otsutsuki members, but the Byakugan that Urashiki has, it seems to be extremely regular. Now, what we know is that for a regular Byakugan, you could pretty much only see up to 50 meters. Now for my American viewers who don't necessarily deal with the actual metric system, but it's probably going to be a half of an American football field. In terms of when you actually go throughout training, Hinata's Byakugan was able to see up to 10 kilometers. Now for my American viewers, that's going to be over 6 miles. So just after training, of course, it's going to be intense training. You could see from 50 meters to up to 10 kilometers, which is absolutely insane. Now I'm thinking for actual Otsutsuki members, they should probably be able to see probably, I don't know, like 1,000 kilometers. Now I know that seems insane, but we're talking about god level beings right here, Otsutsuki members. Now for my American viewers out there, I'm thinking they should probably be able to see about like 600 miles. Now just at least I'm gonna say that Urashiki is able to see up to 10 kilometers. Now of course, if Boruto and Shinki booked it as soon as they sealed Urashiki, they should have definitely been able to move over 10 kilometers. Of course they're ninja at the end of the day, but it was still very surprising to me that, hey, Urashiki's Byakugan isn't necessarily that much overpowered than a character like Hinata's, or than a character like how Neji's would have been if he would have still been alive. Now of course I do have to point out that Urashiki is a character that doesn't necessarily use the Byakugan all that much. We've seen him use it a couple of times before, and to be honest, the only time we really seen him use it recently was when he actually used it to show Boruto and Shinki like, hey, I'm gonna see you wherever you go. But still, in terms of an actual battle, I don't really actually see Urashiki use it. Now, of course, I understand that Urashiki is not going to use it in a battle versus Shinki and Boruto because they're still only getting it. But in terms of a battle versus Sasuke and Gaara, I kind of expect him to use the Byakugan, and we didn't necessarily see him activate the Byakugan. So because he doesn't necessarily use it a lot, we can't necessarily expect it to be extremely overpowered. But in the case with Momoshiki, when he was actually fighting against Sasuke and Naruto, Momoshiki uses Byakugan a lot. So my educated guess is that Momoshiki's Byakugan would probably be able to sense Boruto and Shinki wherever they went, but because Urashiki doesn't necessarily use the Byakugan, because he has the luxury of using the Rinnegan if he does get into a sticky situation, Momoshiki's Byakugan is going to naturally be a lot stronger than Urashiki's Byakugan. Now, a very important dynamic throughout this whole arc is of course Shinki and Boruto, how they get along, how they're different, also their similarities. And of course, this episode takes no shorts in that department. They definitely do give us a lot of Boruto and Shinki content. Now of course, the biggest thing that we did get from this episode, I think we pretty much all knew this was pretty much obvious, but it's just how much Shinki is better at doing ninja stuff. Don't get me wrong, Naruto has the upper hand in a lot more things, especially in compassion, but in terms of just flat out ninja things, awareness, situational awareness, and also fighting awareness in wars, Shinki is just that much better than Naruto. And of course, Shinki does have an upper hand mainly because this is taking place in the Hidden Sand Village, but still Shinki doesn't necessarily know that part of the Hidden Sand Village mainly because it's like the borderline between this Hidden Sand Village and also the Land of Fire. Now we've seen it when Shinki and Boruto were running away from Urashiki, and Shinki basically said like, hey, we're not going to take this route, man, because Urashiki, he's most likely going to take that route. And lo and behold, Urashiki does actually take that route, and I was really surprised. I mean, of course, even though we know that Shinki is still overpowered, he's still a genin. Like, he's still very young in terms of the overall concept of battle, and especially being in this newer generation where he barely gets experience. That right there was very surprised. So as I stated before, Shinki has all the real ninja stuff down pat. The things that he lacks completely is compassion. I mean, he has no compassion. We seen it when they went to the house and the man was stuck under rubble. Shinki just didn't want to help. He just wanted to figure out the information, and he wanted to go directly after that. And Boruto was completely shocked. Like, it was like Boruto was disgusted at my man Shinki, and for good reason. Shinki acts like he doesn't necessarily have any emotions. Even though Shinki could have easily picked up that piece of rubble, he was still just all about the mission. Of course, being about the mission, nothing wrong with that, but Kakashi did teach us in part 1 of Naruto that you still do have to have a level of compassion, and that's something that Shinki doesn't have. And of course, before we even started this whole arc, or before we got to the creme de la creme of this arc, Gaara did say, or somebody did say, I forgot who, I'm pretty sure it was Gaara, but he said that Shinki could possibly learn something from Boruto, and of course this is possibly that he's learning from Boruto. Now we did see some character development at the end of the episode, right before the part where we were actually teased of Sasuke coming back, and of course I'll get into that later on in this video. But right before that, Shinki was actually having some second guesses, but Shinki was definitely looking back like he wanted to help Boruto. Now before, we understood that Shinki was completely against this idea when Boruto went back to help out Kankuro versus the puppets. Now of course, if Shinki goes back to help out Boruto, this might actually be a very bad thing, mainly because Urashiki could just kill Boruto and Shinki and also take shukaku, and that would pretty much destroy the whole mission. Now at this point, we understood that Boruto was on a suicide mission. Boruto said that he could possibly do it, or he was the only person that could do it, mainly because of the shadow clones. So from that point, Shinki Shinki understood that there was a very high possibility of Boruto dying. Now, of course, Shinki being the guy that he was, he understood he probably had more respect for Boruto, but he still now feels that he's kind of obligated to help out Boruto, mainly because Boruto kind of helped out his uncle and Kankuro and almost probably saved him. Now, not only that, but I feel like Shinki is definitely growing to like Boruto. We've seen Boruto help out Shinki when Shinki was out of a lot of chakra, and I'm pretty sure that was pretty impactful to Shinki. Now, in my opinion, I feel like this is terrible. I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys are probably going to disagree with me, but I feel like Shinki being extremely cold-blooded is definitely the way to go, man, because it is the right thing to do. As of right now, if Shinki just makes a beeline to the Hidden Leaf Village, Shukaku was most likely going to be safe. But if Shinki actually goes back to help out Boruto, as I said, it's going to be a very large chance that Shinki and Boruto, they don't complete this mission. And of course, completing this mission could possibly be the difference between the world being in danger and the world possibly even being over, and Naruto getting the sufficient information to possibly go over to the Hidden Leaf Village and completely destroy Urashiki. But I personally think that Boruto could have possibly sent out 2 shadow clones instead of the 1 shadow clone, because as of right now, in my opinion, I think that there's probably going to be a regular Boruto right there, and also the shadow clone is going to be of Shinki. Now, it is possible that Boruto is thinking of the same thing. It's possible that Boruto and me are thinking in the same wavelengths, but Boruto could send out 2 shadow clones. Boruto protects his original self, and the 2 shadow clones basically distract Urashiki, and then the real Boruto sneaks across the border with the real Shinki as well. Now, if that is the situation and they do get across the border, Urashiki is not going to be compelled to go after the male because they've won. If Urashiki does enter the Hidden Leaf Village, they'll know it's an intruder. Now, we know from the previous episode that if they do actually get into the Hidden Leaf Village, it's going to be a big problem for Urashiki, man, because Urashiki himself said so. I don't necessarily know why. Maybe he's afraid of Naruto. That right there would definitely be a very good reason, especially since he just finished fighting Sasuke. And I'm pretty sure Urashiki himself, especially getting off of 2 sealing jutsus after fighting Sasuke, he's probably a little bit spent himself. Now, real quickly, I do want to touch on Sasuke and his predicament, man, because Sasuke is, as of right now, stuck in another dimension. Now, we understood that Sasuke was going to be stuck in another dimension for a little while, man, because when he was actually brought to that dimension, right before that, Urashiki did take a whole lot of chakra from Sasuke. So as of right now, Sasuke is just going to be stuck in that dimension. Now, he did say that he was gaining a lot of his chakra back, and of course, when he does gain the chakra back, he's going to make a beeline to the Hidden Leaf Village, or possibly even the Hidden Sand Village, because he was actually looking at the Hidden Sand Village as well. Now, what I kind of think, and a lot of people are actually saying this on Twitter as well, is that Sasuke is in a very familiar dimension. The dimension that it looks like he's in was the dimension that he actually fought Kinshiki in. Now, the dimension that he fought Kinshiki in also was snowing, also had a lot of ice, and the same thing goes for the dimension that we did see Sasuke in the previous episode. But at the end of the day, we can assume that Sasuke's going to be back very, very quickly, and of course, that's going to be a very good thing for Boruto and Shinki if they're able to pretty much hold off Urashiki until then. But let me know what you guys think about this episode in the comment section below. I really liked it. I really thought it was a very good episode. But it's been your boy Baara B, and we out.
Check my clock, I can't stop. Fuck around, make my 40 pop. No popcorn, I pop pistols. Reaming my body, clothing no issue. Bitch, you look sick, you need a tissue. You drop a body, I just might bless you. I'm at your sexual, no high cholesterol. Where's Jenny Craig? Bitch, just get sexual.